What if the most alien world ever discovered isn't on another planet, but hidden nearly 2 miles beneath the frozen waters of Antarctica? In early 2026, a scientific expedition lowered a robotic explorer into one of the least understood places on Earth, the South Sandwich Trench, a deep scar in the seafloor where sunlight never reaches and pressure climbs to more than 4,000 pounds per square inch. For decades, scientists believed this region was little more than an underwater desert, too cold, too dark, and too isolated to support anything beyond scattered microbes. But as the deep-sea vehicle began its slow descent through miles of black water, something unexpected appeared on the monitors aboard the research vessel. Movement. Shapes emerging from the darkness. Not the empty seabed researchers had predicted, but a thriving ecosystem, dense, active, and shockingly complex. Creatures were crawling, hunting, and building entire biological communities nearly 10,000 feet below the surface, in conditions that should make life impossible. The discovery forced scientists to confront a question far bigger than Antarctica itself. If life can flourish here without sunlight under crushing pressure and permanent darkness, then the limits of biology may be far broader than we ever imagined. And if those limits are wrong on Earth, what might that mean for the oceans hidden beneath the ice of distant worlds? The answers began with a robot named Sebastian descending slowly into the abyss, and a camera feed that would rewrite what we thought we knew about life on this planet. For most of human history, Antarctica has been seen as a place where life struggles even on the surface. Endless fields of drifting ice, hurricane-force winds, and temperatures far below freezing make the Southern Ocean one of the harshest environments on the planet. To scientists studying the region, the waters surrounding the South Sandwich Trench represented something even more extreme. Nearly 10,000 feet below the surface beyond the reach of sunlight, the ocean floor was long believed to be little more than a silent wasteland. Generations of researchers assumed that without sunlight, there could be no plankton, no food chain, and ultimately, no complex life. In textbooks, the deep Antarctic seafloor was described almost like a frozen desert buried beneath miles of water. But the 2026 expedition challenged that belief before the first robot even touched the seabed. As the research vessel drifted through the icy Southern Ocean, scientists from multiple countries gathered in the control room with a shared sense of anticipation and quiet doubt. They knew the conditions below were brutal, crushing pressure, near freezing water, and months of darkness that seemed to erase the possibility of thriving ecosystems. Yet the deeper they studied the geology of the trench, the more questions emerged. Could something survive in isolation from the sun? Could life exist in a system powered not by light, but by the hidden energy of the Earth itself? These questions transformed the mission from a routine deep-sea survey into something far more significant. Because if the old assumptions about the Antarctic abyss were wrong, then the story of life on our planet might be far more mysterious than we ever imagined. The descent into the trench began slowly, almost cautiously, as the deep-sea robot slipped beneath the gray Antarctic waves and entered a world where sunlight disappears forever. On the monitors aboard the research vessel, the first images showed exactly what scientists expected: drifting particles, faint shadows of sediment, and endless darkness. Mile after mile of water passed above the machine until it approached the ocean floor nearly 10,000 feet below the surface. At that depth, the pressure is crushing, the temperature hovers near freezing, and the environment has long been considered too hostile to sustain anything beyond scattered microbes. But then something unexpected appeared in the glow of the robot's lights. A movement, then another. As the cameras stabilized, shapes began to emerge across the seabed, clusters of organisms, spreading across the sediment like a living landscape. What scientists were seeing was not the empty abyss described in textbooks. It was an ecosystem. Creatures moved slowly across the ocean floor, interacting, feeding, and forming dense biological communities that seemed to ignore the absolute darkness surrounding them. Inside the control room, the atmosphere shifted from quiet observation to stunned disbelief. For decades, researchers believed that Antarctic deep waters entered a kind of seasonal dormancy when surface plankton disappeared during long polar winters. Yet here, nearly 2 miles below the waves, life showed no signs of slowing down. The ecosystem appeared active, stable, and surprisingly abundant. The implication was profound. If these organisms were thriving in such isolation, they could not be relying on food drifting down from the surface. Something else was sustaining them, something hidden within the chemistry of the ocean itself. In that moment, as the cameras continued scanning the seafloor, the expedition crossed an invisible boundary. What began as a survey of a remote ocean trench was quickly becoming something far more significant. A glimpse into a biological system operating under rules that scientists were only beginning to understand. The deeper scientists looked into the Antarctic trench, the clearer it became that this ecosystem was powered by a principle very different from the one that governs life on the surface of Earth. Nearly every living system humans are familiar with ultimately depends on sunlight. Plants capture solar energy through photosynthesis, creating the foundation of the global food chain. But nearly 10,000 feet below the Antarctic Ocean, sunlight has never existed. No sunrise has ever touched this landscape. Yet life here was not only present, it was thriving. The explanation lay in a remarkable biological process known as chemosynthesis, a mechanism that allows certain microorganisms to transform chemical reactions into energy. Deep within the seafloor, fractures in the Earth's crust release gases such as methane and hydrogen sulfide into the surrounding water. For most life forms, these substances are toxic, even lethal. But in the darkness of the trench, specialized bacteria have evolved to do something extraordinary. They consume these chemicals and convert them into usable biological fuel. These microscopic organisms function like invisible power plants, forming the foundation of an entire ecosystem built not on sunlight, but on the raw chemistry of the planet itself. From these bacterial communities, a complex food web begins to emerge. Larger organisms feed on the microbial mats, predators hunt the grazers, and an entire chain of life develops completely independent of the surface world. For the scientists observing the footage in the control room, the realization carried both excitement and a quiet sense of awe. The ecosystem below was not a fragile outpost, barely surviving in darkness. It was a stable biological system operating under its own rules. Storms raging across the Antarctic surface, shifting sea ice, even seasonal cycles of light and darkness meant nothing to the organisms living in the abyss. Their energy came from the planet itself. This discovery did more than reveal a hidden ecosystem. It forced researchers to reconsider one of the most fundamental assumptions about life. If organisms can thrive in total darkness by harnessing chemical energy from the Earth's interior, then sunlight may not be the universal requirement scientists once believed it to be. And with that realization came a far more unsettling question. If life can exist here in the coldest and darkest ocean on our planet, then how many other hidden worlds might already be alive? Reaching a world nearly 10,000 feet beneath the Antarctic Ocean is not simply a scientific challenge. It is an engineering battle against one of the most hostile environments on Earth. At that depth, the ocean exerts a pressure of more than 4,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush ordinary machines instantly. Temperatures hover just above freezing, and absolute darkness stretches in every direction. For humans, entering such a place directly is impossible. Instead, the expedition relied on a technological surrogate, a deep-sea robotic explorer known as Sebastian. Built from reinforced titanium alloys and advanced composite materials, Sebastian was designed specifically to survive the crushing forces of the abyss. Its body functioned like a miniature spacecraft for the ocean floor, carrying powerful LED lights capable of piercing the darkness and ultra-high-definition cameras that could reveal details never before seen by human eyes. Long mechanical arms extended from its frame, delicate enough to collect fragile organisms without destroying them. Yet, even with such advanced engineering, every dive remained tense. The robot was tethered to the research vessel above by a thin fiber optic cable stretching for miles through the water column, transmitting video and sensor data in real time. Inside the control room, scientists watched every movement with intense focus, knowing that a single collision with a hidden rock formation could end the mission instantly. Navigating the trench required patience, precision, and a constant awareness of the crushing forces surrounding the machine. But as Sebastian moved carefully across the seabed, its lights cutting through the darkness, the robot began revealing a hidden landscape that no human had ever witnessed before, one that was far more alive than anyone had dared to imagine. As Sebastian's lights swept slowly across the seabed, the research team expected to see scattered organisms clinging to survival in the darkness. What they did not expect was to encounter predators. Rising from the sediment were delicate structures that at first looked like strange underwater plants. Thin stalks anchored to the seafloor, each supporting small translucent spheres that glimmered in the artificial light like glass ornaments. For a moment, the objects appeared motionless and harmless, part of the quiet scenery of the abyss. But as the cameras zoomed closer, the truth became unsettlingly clear. These were not plants at all. They were carnivorous sponges, members of the genus Chondrocladia organisms that had evolved into hunters in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Their spherical surfaces were covered with countless microscopic hooks forming biological traps, so fine they were nearly invisible to the naked eye. When a small shrimp or drifting crustacean brushed against the structure, escape became almost impossible. Each movement only forced the hooks deeper into the creature's shell or soft tissue, locking it in place. What happened next was even more astonishing. Unlike typical predators, these sponges possess no mouth, no teeth, and no digestive organs. Instead, the living tissue of the sponge slowly expands around the trapped victim, enveloping it like a living cocoon. Over the course of several days, enzymes are released that dissolve the prey externally, allowing nutrients to be absorbed directly into the sponge's body. It is a silent, patient form of predation unfolding in total darkness nearly 2 miles beneath the ocean's surface. For scientists watching the footage, the discovery was both thrilling and deeply humbling. For centuries, sponges were considered among the simplest and most passive animals in the ocean, filtering water quietly and surviving on microscopic particles. Yet here, in the extreme scarcity of the Antarctic abyss, evolution had transformed them into something entirely different, a predator perfectly adapted to a world where every source of energy is precious. The lesson was unmistakable. In the deep sea, survival demands radical innovation, and even the most ancient life forms can become surprisingly sophisticated hunters when the environment leaves them no other choice. As Sebastian continued its slow exploration along the uneven slopes of the trench, the cameras suddenly revealed a scene that looked almost surreal in the beam of the robot's lights. Emerging from the darkness was a massive structure resting on the seabed, arched shapes that at first seemed like strange rock formations. But as the robot moved closer, the truth became unmistakable. These were the enormous ribs of a whale skeleton lying nearly 10,000 feet beneath the Antarctic Ocean. In the deep sea, the fall of a whale carcass is not simply the end of one life, it is the beginning of an entire ecosystem. Scientists call these sites whale fall communities, biological oases that can support life for decades in environments otherwise starved of nutrients. The bones of the whale were covered with thousands of thin red strands swaying gently in the slow underwater currents. These organisms are known as Osedax worms, often called bone-eating worms. At first glance, they appear fragile, almost delicate, but their biology is extraordinary. These worms possess no mouth, no stomach, and no traditional digestive system. Instead, the lower part of their bodies develops root-like structures that burrow deep into the bones of the whale, reaching the rich reserves of fats and organic compounds trapped inside. Hidden within those roots live colonies of specialized bacteria that break down the bone material and convert it into nutrients the worms can absorb. Together they form a complex, symbiotic partnership, tiny biochemical factories working silently in the depths of the ocean. Watching the footage unfold, scientists realized they were witnessing one of nature's most powerful transformations. The death of a single giant animal becomes the foundation for a thriving biological city, sustaining countless organisms for years beneath the sea. In the darkness of the Antarctic abyss, even death is not an ending, it is simply another beginning in the endless cycle of life. As the first reports from the Antarctic expedition circulated through scientific institutions around the world, the significance of the discovery quickly extended far beyond marine biology. Data from the South Sandwich Trench began attracting attention from major space agencies, including NASA, because the environment scientists had just documented bore a striking resemblance to conditions believed to exist on distant icy moons. Beneath the frozen crusts of Europa orbiting Jupiter and Enceladus orbiting Saturn, astronomers believe vast oceans of liquid water may exist hidden beneath miles of ice and locked in permanent darkness. For years, many researchers suspected these alien oceans were sterile, lacking the sunlight necessary to support life. But the Antarctic Trench revealed a powerful counter-argument. Here on Earth, nearly 2 miles below the ocean surface, entire ecosystems were thriving without any connection to sunlight at all. Instead, life was sustained by chemical energy rising from deep within the planet itself. If such biological systems can flourish in the cold, crushing darkness of Earth's oceans, then the possibility of life in distant extraterrestrial seas becomes far more plausible. In a quiet but profound way, the strange creatures discovered in Antarctica may represent something far greater than a marine curiosity. They may be the closest glimpse humanity has ever had of how life might exist on another world. When the expedition finally concluded, and the last streams of footage from the deep were archived, one realization echoed through the scientific community with quiet intensity. Humanity still knows astonishingly little about its own planet. The Antarctic Trench, nearly 10,000 feet beneath the ocean's surface, had revealed a world so strange and complex that it felt almost extraterrestrial. Predatory sponges waiting patiently in the darkness, worms that consume the bones of whales through living roots, ghost-like creatures drifting through freezing black water. Each discovery exposed how limited our previous understanding of the deep ocean truly was. For decades, humanity has invested enormous effort in exploring distant planets and photographing galaxies billions of miles away, yet the depths of Earth's own oceans remain largely unmapped and unexplored. In many ways, the abyss beneath Antarctica may be more mysterious than the surface of Mars. Every descent into the deep is not only a journey through crushing pressure and darkness, but a step into an ancient biological world that has evolved beyond the reach of sunlight and time. The discoveries made during this expedition will take scientists years, perhaps decades, to fully understand. But they leave us with a profound question. If entire ecosystems can exist hidden beneath miles of ocean thriving without light and powered only by the chemistry of the Earth itself, how many other unknown worlds might still exist beneath the surface of our own planet? The ocean, silent and immense, continues to guard its secrets, waiting patiently for the moment humanity is finally ready to discover them. The discoveries beneath the Antarctic Ocean remind us of something both humbling and powerful. The limits we place on nature are often the limits of our imagination. For generations, scientists believed life required sunlight, warmth, and stability. Yet nearly 2 miles below the frozen Southern Ocean, entire ecosystems have been thriving in darkness, powered only by the hidden chemistry of the Earth. It's a reminder that the world still holds mysteries far greater than we expect, and that humility is essential in the pursuit of knowledge. As we continue exploring our planet and searching for life beyond it, one lesson becomes clear. Protecting Earth's oceans means protecting one of the most extraordinary frontiers of discovery. Because what we learn in the depths today may shape how humanity understands life tomorrow. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone curious about the unknown, and subscribe for more deep investigations into the hidden worlds of our planet.